And now growing uncertainty about the future of the multi-billion-dollar MCC agreement with the US. On the face of the task force reporting that the agreement should not be endorsed intact and the US suggesting an end of deadline to endorse the agreement, the scenario has put the future course of MCC into uncertainty. Good morning, I am Bipashna Tamang and these are the headlines of the hour. MCC study task force formed by the ruling Nepal Communist Party submit its report to the party secretariat. Executive Chairman Dahal says the agreement would be endorsed only after amendment. Government proposes law prohibiting anti-graft body CIAA from investigating corruption cases against individuals in high-ranking positions and lists warn the provision. South Korea says the number of new coronavirus cases in the country has more than doubled. 229 new cases confirmed, raising the total to 433. And Barcelona hammer Eibar 5-0 in the Spanish La Liga to move 2 points clear at the top of the league. Real Madrid suffer a shock defeat against Levante. Let's begin with the national political updates. Coordinator of the task force formed to study the MCC agreement, Chalanath Khanal, briefed the ruling Nepal Communist Party's secretariat meeting regarding the report presented by the task force. The report has concluded that the MCC agreement should not be endorsed in its current form, which has not only created uncertainty regarding the agreement, but has indicated further complexities in the inter-party equation. Following differences within the Nepal Communist Party on whether or not to endorse the agreement, the issue has now been registered in the ruling party's official document itself, along with being raised at the secretariat meeting. Prime Minister and the ruling party chairman KP Sharma Oli has already made his opinion public that the agreement should be endorsed by the parliament at the earliest. Prime Minister Oli had earlier denounced the formation of the MCC study task force. The issue, however, has become a bone of contention for the government following the submission of report by the task force. Meanwhile, Speaker Agni Sapkota is in favor of registering the agreement only after the dispute is sorted out at the political level. NCP's executive chairman Pushpa Kamal Dahal, senior leader Madhav Kumar Nepal, among other influential leaders of the party, are against the endorsement of the MCC agreement. This has put Prime Minister Oli in minority, while the US Embassy too has said that the deadline to amend the agreement has already ended. This has made the future of the MCC agreement more uncertain. Meanwhile, Executive Chairman of the ruling Nepal Communist Party, Pushpa Kamal Dahal, has said that the Parliament would endorse the American-funded Millennium Challenge Corporation MCC only after the necessary amendments. Executive Chairman Dahal claimed that Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is also ready to make necessary amendments in the bills before endorsing it from the Parliament. The task force had recommended that the controversial bill should not be endorsed in its present term and condition on Friday. Speaking at a press meet organized yesterday, Executive Chairman Dahal informed that he has already held meeting with Prime Minister Oli on amending the bill on national interest.
गर्न नहुने जस्ताको तस्तै पास गर्नुपर्ने यदि हामी कहाँ केही कन्सर्न आए भने त यसलाई चाहिँ परिमार्जन गरेर संशोधन गरेर पनि त लान सकिन्छ भनेर अस्तिको दिन प्रधानमन्त्रीजीले नै बताइसक्नु भएको र उनीहरुले पनि त्यसलाई बाइबल हो त भन्ने कुरा आएन.
Executive Chairman Dahal was at Rajahar in East Nawalparasi, where he inaugurated a newly constructed building of Natural Health Center. The ruling Nepal Communist Party NCP is preparing to appoint Vice Chairman Bamdev Gautam as the lawmaker of the National Assembly. The party leadership has agreed to appoint Gautam in the position in the place of Yuvraj Khatioda. The meeting of party's chairman duo and few leaders held yesterday ended positively on the issue. The tenure of lawmaker Khatioda is ending on 3rd of March. The Secretariat Committee meeting of the party also discussed to recommend the President to appoint Leader Gautam as the lawmaker of the upper house. Leader Gautam has also shown interest on the issue, as earlier Leader Gautam had denied of being lawmaker until there is provision for the lawmaker of the upper house to be appointed as the Prime Minister. Leader Gautam lost from Bardia 1 in the election, following which he wanted to come at the House of Representatives through by-election, persuading Rambir Manandhar to resign from Kathmandu 6. However, Prime Minister and party chairman KP Sharma Oli objected to do it. Likewise, Leader Gautam tried to persuade a lawmaker Dhan Bahadur Buddha of Dolpa to resign. However, the party did not accept the proposal either. Meanwhile, according to the Prime Minister's press advisor Surya Thapa, Prime Minister Oli informed the Secretariat Committee meeting that the CIAA has already begun the investigation on outgoing Communication Minister Gokul Baskuta in the Commission bargaining case for the procurement of security press. Outgoing Minister Baskuta resigned on Thursday after the audio was leaked in which he was heard bargaining for commission. And time now for a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. At a time when it's been widely demanded that individuals involved in corruption should be socially boycotted, the government has proposed a law that would pose obstacle in the investigation of corruption cases. The government is preparing to amend the law related to the Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority that would prohibit the authority from prosecuting the corruption-accused public office bearers after 5 years of the end of their tenures. The bill that was proposed by the government last month is currently under consideration at the National Assembly. After drastically manipulating the provisions in the draft sent by the corruption watchdog, the Office of the Prime Minister has proposed for the provision restricting the prosecution period of corruption-accused public officials to 5 years after their retirement. Many individuals holding public positions have been penalized after being convicted of corruption in recent times. The government has, however, been trying to introduce a new law that would provide leeway to corrupt public office bearers by boosting impunity. The government is preparing to introduce a new aviation policy in a bid to improve the country's civil aviation sector at a time when the European Union has continued to blacklist Nepal's aviation sector. The government is introducing the policy to make the airline companies more responsible towards passenger security. The Tourism Ministry is preparing to table the draft at the Cabinet for approval. The European Union blacklisted Nepal's aviation sector 6 years ago, citing security risks. This has restricted Nepalese airline companies from providing their services in Europe. In 74-year Nepalese aviation history, 800 fatalities have been recorded from 95 accidents. Referring to the data, the Tourism Ministry has proposed to ban the aircraft exceeding 15 years of operation from flying. The committee that was formed under the coordination of former Secretary Yagya Gautam has recommended for conducting flying tests once a year of the aircraft that have exceeded 15 years of operation. The committee has concluded that the airline companies have been flying outdated aircrafts due to inadequate number of airplanes while ignoring the mandatory maintenance provision, which has increased the risk in air security. If the Cabinet approves the proposal, a single airline company should have at least 3 planes. The committee has also proposed that the domestic airlines should have paid up capital of 250 million rupees and 500 million rupees of operating capital. Likewise, for international airlines, the paid-up capital would be 500 million rupees and operating capital would be 2 billion rupees. As per the committee, the new provision would minimize the non-commercial activities, increasing their air safety. The draft has eliminated the provision that would allow the government to fix the airfares, granting advantage to the airline companies syndicate. However, it is still unclear whether or not the government would consult with stakeholders and undergo necessary amendments before endorsing the proposal. And time now for the international update. South Korea says the number of new coronavirus cases in the country has more than doubled in one day. Officials said on Saturday that 229 new cases had been confirmed since Friday, raising the total to 433. In a televised address, South Korean Prime Minister Chung Se-kyo described the situation as grave. Authorities have said that many of the new cases are linked to a hospital and to a religious group near the southeastern city of Daegu. 2 patients in South Korea have died so far, and there are fears the number will rise. Daegu and nearby Cheongdo, where the hospital is situated, have been declared special care zones, and the streets of Daegu are reported to be largely abandoned. South Korea has now reported the largest number of confirmed infections after China, which has 76,288 cases, including 2,345 deaths, and the outbreak on the Diamond Princess cruise ship off the coast of Japan, which has seen more than 600 cases. And we have more news coming up, but right now it's time for yet another short break. And in our Public Voice segment, we had asked the residents of Rukum district, why have the economically challenged population been devoid of easy access to health services? Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public Voice.
अस्पताल जाँदाखेरि औषधि पनि पाइन्न, डाक्टरहरू पनि पाइन्नन्। अब यो सरकारले अरूमा ध्यान दिएको छ, तर स्वास्थ्य सेवामा ध्यान त्यति दिएको छैन।
अस्पतालहरू बनाउन सकेको छैन, भएको अस्पतालले पनि व्यवस्थित गरेको छैन। अब हामीले सानो उपचार गर्न पनि नेपालगञ्ज दाङ जानुपर्ने, अनि यहाँ भएको स्वास्थ्यहरूलाई किन व्यवस्थित गर्न सकेको छैन? सरकारले चाहे भने त सबै गर्न सक्छ नि।
राज्यले जुन तरिकाले जनताको समस्याप्रति, स्वास्थ्य समस्याप्रति जति ध्यान दिनुपर्ने हो त्यति ध्यान नसकेको रहेको नै मलाई लाग्छ।
भइराखेको हस्पिटलहरू पनि अलि केयरलेस जस्तो, अब डाक्टर नभएको अवस्थाहरू देखिन्छ।
स्वास्थ्य चौकीहरू जस्तोमा चासो दिने कुराहरूमा दिइरहेको छैन। पहिलेको स्वास्थ्य चौकीहरू जस्तो थियो त्यस्तै नै छ। आज भोलिहरू केही परिवर्तन हुन सकेको छैन।
And time now for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's the question. What's your take on the government's attempt to formulate law limiting the prosecution duration of corruption cases? The options are option A, safeguarding impunity, option B, abuse of power, and option C, pressure to expedite investigation. The voting for the question is on. Type NEWS, select your options A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And time now for the sports update.
Sports News.
Lionel Messi struck a hat-trick as Barcelona hammered Eibar 5-0 in a match under Spanish La Liga late last night. Messi completed his hat-trick in Camp Nou in the first half itself. Messi opened the scoring for Barca in the 14th minute following a solo effort. Messi doubled the lead in the 37th minute as he utilized a pass from Vidal. Within 3 minutes, Messi completed the hat-trick as he scored the third goal. This was Messi's 48th career hat-trick. Messi added one more goal in the 87th minute to take his match tally to 4 goals, while Arthur scored the 5th goal in the 89th minute to seal the 5-0 win. With the win, Barcelona have taken a 2-point lead at the top from the second-placed Real Madrid, who suffered a shock 1-0 defeat against Levante. The 79th minute strike by Morales proved decisive in Levante's 1-0 victory. Defending champion Manchester City registered a narrow 1-0 win over Leicester City in a match under English Premier League last night. Gabriel Jesus scored in the 80th minute of the match to give Manchester City a narrow victory. Jesus utilized a pass given by Riyad Mahrez to score the decisive goal. The second-placed Manchester City now have 57 points from 27 matches. In another match last night, Chelsea defeated Tottenham 2-1, while Burnley defeated Bournemouth 3-0. And time now for our special segment, Around the World.
UK took almost 5 years to settle its divorce from the European Union. And while the Downing Street might have good plans for its citizens, new provisions might not be good for others. Under post-Brexit immigration plans unveiled by the British government this week, low-skilled workers might not get visas to the country. The UK government is urging employers to move away from relying on cheap labour from Europe and invest in retaining staff and developing automation technology. The Home Office said EU and non-EU citizens coming to the UK would be treated equally after UK-EU free movement ends on 31st of December. The government, which said it was aiming to reduce overall migration to the UK, wants a points-based immigration system, as it promised in its election manifesto. Under the scheme, overseas workers who wanted to come to the UK would have to speak English and have the offer of a skilled job with an approved sponsor. They would be awarded 50 points if they fulfill these criteria. Health officials in China published the first details of more than 44,000 cases of COVID-19 in the biggest study since the outbreak began. Data from the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention found that more than 80% of the cases have been mild, while the sick and elderly were most at risk. The research also suggested a high risk to medical staff. A hospital director in the city of Wuhan died from the virus on Tuesday. 51-year-old Liu Jiming was the director of Wuchang Hospital in Wuhan, one of the leading hospitals in the virus epicenter. The death toll from COVID-19 in mainland China has exceeded 2,300, while number of infections exceeded 76,000. China has imposed stricter rules on people's movement in the Hubei province, the center of coronavirus outbreak. Meanwhile, South Korea has stepped up measures to contain the spread of the deadly coronavirus as confirmed infections rose sharply. South Korean Prime Minister said it was now an emergency situation as 100 new cases had been reported on Thursday. The southern cities of Daegu and Cheongdo have been declared special care zones. All military bases are in lockdown after 3 soldiers tested positive. About 9,000 members of a religious group were told to self-quarantine after the sector was identified as a coronavirus hotbed. This is Sarah Sapsanama for Around the World and Kantipur News Desk.
And before wrapping up, here's a look at the top stories one more time. MCC study task force formed by the ruling NCP submits its report to the party secretariat. Executive Chairman Dahal says the agreement would be endorsed only after amendment. Government proposes law prohibiting anti-graft body CIAA from investigating corruption cases against individuals in high-ranking positions and lists a warrant provision would promote impunity. South Korea says the number of new coronavirus cases in the country has more than doubled. 229 new cases confirmed, raising the total to 433 on Saturday. And Barcelona hammer Eibar 5-0 in the Spanish La Liga to move 2 points clear at the top of the league. Real Madrid suffer a shock defeat against Levante. And that's all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will air at 11 a.m. Keep watching Kantipur Television HD for more news and entertainment. Have a great day ahead.